everyone, it's Brie. So without a doubt, the question I get asked the most is, how the hell do I stop my menstrual cup from leaking? Help, my menstrual cup's leaking. What do I do? Okay, right, so now I'm finally getting around to the video of how to stop your menstrual cup from leaking. So today I've got 3 different cups I'm going to use. I've got my Cervical cup, and I will just get these out very quickly. My Cervical cup, my Lady cup, and also my Moon cup. This is the Moon Cup UK, by the way, so this one is slightly different from the American one. For example, it has some pretty awesome grips just here, both on the cup itself and on the stem, which isn't very stretchy. Also, it has a huge rim. Now, I don't usually like to bring this cup out because I don't use it, I don't like it much, but I figured it's time it made an appearance. So, the first thing that might be why your menstrual cup is leaking is it's not open correctly. So, before I do anything else, you need to get to know your female anatomy. This is what the inside of your body looks like. So as you can see, your vagina will actually tilt backwards towards your rectum. Also, another feature of your vagina is the top of it is flat. In fact, if you take your hand and just feel around your bikini line, you can feel your pubic bone. That's something that you've got to get your cup past, and that can also stop your cup from opening properly. Also, my next biggest tip is use lubricant. It helps so much. It actually helps the cup to go in, and just it stops with the pain as well, so there's a win-win situation really. Use lubricant. The best lubricants I've come across are the Yes lubricant and also KY jelly. So the next thing I'm going to bring in is this little glass. Now I hope you can see when I demonstrate with this, because it has got this pretty crisscross pattern on it, so it might be a little bit tricky to see, but it's the only one I've got that will fit a menstrual cup in it. So, first things first, I'm going to use the Lady cup for this. Sorry, I need to wash this cup. The Lady cup, just had a bit of fluff there. And the most common fold that cup companies seem to do is the C fold, which is like this, or the U fold, depending on how you see it. I don't like that fold. I either use the punch down fold, which is where you take your finger, punch the cup down inside itself, and that gives you this kind of shape. Also, one of my favourite folds to use is the 7 fold, where you take the cup, fold it in half like that, and then just pull a corner down, and it makes a 7 shape. I hope that's not backwards on here. Okay, so just for this, I'm going to use the punch down fold. Now, the Lady cup is a very firm resistance cup. Nothing stops this cup from opening, so hopefully it should work pretty good in here. Now, of course, I've said that, it's probably not going to do it right. So your vagina is sloped at that sort of angle, going backwards towards your rectum or your large intestine. So you insert your cup in and let it pop open. Now, if this happens, you can see here that the cup is not quite, hopefully there you can see, not quite open here, it's still tucked in. This is one of the things you need to check when you first insert your menstrual cup, especially if you're a beginner. The easiest way to do that is literally to take your finger, insert it up next to the cup, we'll go up here, and just run it around the rim of the cup. Now you can see if you don't go all the way around, over here it still feels solid and open, but once you get past this bit you can feel, okay, there's a dip here. One of the tricks you can do is just to pull this down a little bit, and it should pop open. So now we have formed a suction seal, and also as this glass you can see flares out here, your muscles inside your vagina will actually hug the cup at this point. So you won't need to worry about leaking once your cup is open. Another thing you can do, and I'm just going to fold this up with the C fold to do this next bit, is you can actually just push on the cup very gently here to get some air into the cup. I need to pull this down a bit because it won't. There you go. Just get some air into the cup like that by pressing a little bit, and that can help to get the cup in as well. So let's go to the Cervical cup now. So with the Cervical cup is a much softer cup, and one of the reasons your cup can leak, hang on, first of all I'm going to take some water, it's a bit too much, just pour a little bit of water into the bottom of this glass. We'll use the Lady cup for this. Now once your cup is open, so we'll use the punch down fold, open that up. So there you can see, it's not actually exactly straight, it's a little bit of an angle, but it should still hold the water. And once it's open, it won't leak. And you can see it's holding quite a bit of water there. That's quite a large amount of menstrual fluid, but you can see this cup still isn't at its full capacity. And those holes, they just help it to open up, which is actually tip number 2, I have to say. This is going to drip a little bit when I open it up because, as I said, inside your vagina your muscles will be hugging this, so it won't leak, but there's this great bit of air gap here. But the way you open this is simply punch down and slide this together. We didn't drip too much actually, pretty good. So there is your cup, and it's still holding the menstrual fluid. So, now how can you help your cup to open? One of the tips I have is to look at your cup, and your cup has these little air holes you can see there. Punch down, if you do the punch down fold, punch down over one of those holes, and then you could see you kind of form the air pocket in there right over one of the holes. That should help to open up your cup, like so. And even here you can see how with this cup, the air hole, let's try to find it somewhere, where is it gone? Here too. Okay, you're not going to be able to see them very well, but there are 2 holes just on the cup here, and you can see the rim isn't completely attached, but even then this cup still won't leak, which is great. So, next thing that could be the cause of your cup leaking, if your cup is too small. Now if this happens, what's happening is often if you've given birth, then your vaginal muscles will have stretched and not quite gone back as tight as they were before. For obvious reasons, you've just pushed a baby out of there. But it can happen if you've had a cesarean as well, because you still get the same sort of relaxant to go down. My mind's gone blank, but you know, the same process happens through your body. Your vaginal muscles get ready to expand, even though they don't actually, so that can also loosen them up a bit. With the cup, you know, your muscles will hug it, but if you are quite loose down there, they won't hug it enough, and then you can see easily you get some leakage around the edges of the cup, or the rim of the cup. Or equally, it can happen if your cup is too big, because if you imagine you have very tight, you're much smaller, what happens is your cup can't physically open properly, and you get this hole where you can leak down if your vaginal muscles are too tight to let the cup fully expand. And also, it just means that, you know, you move and it will bend in and it will leak down the side, so that's another reason why it's bad. People often ask, this is not so much to do with why your cup leaks, but why you can't feel it. Should you be able to feel it if it's open properly? No, you shouldn't be able to feel it actually if it's open properly, because what happens is it should all be, everything of the cup should be inside your vaginal walls. There should not be any stem sticking out. It should all be inside your vagina. And then what happens is your muscles are so flexible, they can just kind of mould the cup to how they want it to be. And unlike a tampon, a cup can also move and mould as well, which is why it can do this. Plus, you don't have very many nerves down there, because if you think about giving birth with a ton of nerves down there, think how much that's got to hurt. This is your cup, and then the side of your baby's head is kind of like that. So it's really tiny compared to that. Another reason your cup could be leaking is the cup is too soft for you. Again, the Cervical is a softer cup. And if your muscles are really strong, again, they might not let it open up. It's a bit like the too small, too big cup. Your muscles will just hold it down. One way you can stiffen your cup to see if this helps is to run under the tap with freezing cold water. That makes the silicone a little bit stiffer as well. You've got to just run it under there and then put it straight up into you. Insert it straight into your body, and that should help to make the cup pop open easier if you have that issue. It just might give you an idea. You still might need to get another cup, but you might get a good idea of what's going on. The next thing is it could be a bad shape. You can see here, sorry, excuse me, my voice is going. You can see here there are many different shapes of menstrual cup. This one has a pretty thick rim. Let me hold up on my hand. The moon cup compared to the lady cup and the Cervical. The Cervical flares out a bit more up here, and then the lady cup has more of a firm rim. The lady cup's actually stiffer towards the top of the cup, as opposed to down here it's softer. But you might find that a certain shape just doesn't work for you. It shouldn't leak though, it should just not be quite the best cup you can find. But in extreme cases it can leak, and that's one thing you'll have to bear in mind. The next thing, this is probably the most annoying, and it has happened to me. This is cervical hide-and-seek. Your cervix can decide to run off and do its own thing. For example, oh, let's pull the water away. So you take your cup, let's use the moon cup for this, shall we? take your moon cup, and we'll just use the C-fold for the sake of this. Insert it, and it's opened up, for example. There we go. Now, it doesn't matter, as I said before, if it's at a slight angle, it should still work. But you've got to imagine that the vaginal wall is coming right down to here, so it extends way beyond this. Now, what can happen is instead of your cervix is the kind of entrance to your uterus, so to speak. So from your vaginal canal, you have your cervix and then your uterus. So if your cervix decides to drop, as is very common when you get your period, actually mine does it, what can happen is you insert it next to your cervix. It can embed itself into the wall of your vagina, which is very annoying. And also the other reason you need to do this test, running around the side, because you will be able to feel it and you'll go, hang on, my cervix isn't in the cup. If that happens, obviously the cervix is here, you're bleeding from here, nothing's going to go into the cup, so obviously it's going to leak. That's if you get quite extreme leaking though, is often the reason is your cervix is gone. But the other thing your cervix can do is it can actually drop inside the cup. So you imagine you have your cup here, you can't see very well this cup. Let's go for the lady cup. Okay, so I'm just going to set that in there. So you have your lady cup in here. So your cervix can actually drop inside the cup. This is why some people say, my cup's not full, but it's leaking. When you take it out, sometimes if your cervix drops into the cup like that, you could just imagine, it's a bit like putting a stone into a cup of water. So you can see when you put your fingers into it, the level of water rises, and the same thing happens with your cervix. It drops into the cup and therefore takes up some of the volume of space in the cup and takes away some of the capacity of the cup. But when you take it out, obviously you don't take your cervix out with the cup, so the levels will drop back down again. Those are really the main reasons why your menstrual cup is leaking. It could be too full, it could be too small, too big, it can be your cervix has decided to drop. And also it could just be not open. So those are my biggest tips and the biggest reasons I think why a menstrual cup is leaking. There are probably a couple of others out there, but those are the main ones. So I hope this helps you. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you've entered my giveaway if you haven't already. I'm sure you have, but just in case. Please subscribe and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.